Right. Hello all. Now we'll discuss the evolution of modern economies, and we discussed in this regard in our terminology in Indian economy. Okay, so please visit to get good clarity on this. Right. So, so let me explain few points about the evolution of modern economy. See, what is the meaning of this evolution of modern economies? Economy means production activities. So modern economy means modern production activities. That's it. How these modern production activities have evolved? That is the question here. Because we have begin with agriculture, and today we are providing different varieties of services. We have expanded our production activities. We have expanded our goods and services. So how we came into this position? So that is the point of discussion here. So evolution of modern economies means the study of evolution of modern production activities. As simple as that. Right. So if you look at the evolution of modern economies, in the initial stages of development, substantial population depended on agriculture. Yes or no? So subsequently, they migrate to industrial activities. Why? As I said, in the mid 18th century, there was industrial revolution. So the main objective of the industrial revolution is to increase the production of goods. Increase the production of goods. And also to reduce the manpower. Okay, and of course there were many disadvantages of industrial revolution. Okay, we'll discuss all those aspects in our world history classes in coming days. Okay, right. So for time being, just remember that industrial revolution led to the shift of workforce from agricultural activities to industries, right? So we can call this agriculture as primary sector and the industries are secondary sector. So what is the main reason for industrial activities? The industrial revolution, the invention of machines like steam engine, etc. Okay, the first industrial revolution began in textile industries. Okay, right? Manually operated works have been transformed into machine operated works, right? Yes. So as more and more industrialization takes place, demand for more and more services came up. Yes or no? What is the meaning of this? After the manufacturing of goods, the goods has to be transported to the markets. Okay. So the transportation comes under the service sector. Okay, am I clear? So invention of machines led to industrialization, and industrialization of various economic activities led to demand for various types of services. For example, industrialization led to banking services to meet the needs of the capital, and industrialization led to telecommunication networks in order to transfer the information from one place to another place regarding the production and several things. Yes or no? And industrialization leads to development of road networks, rail networks, waterways, airways. So these road networks, rail networks, waterways, airways, information and communication technologies, banking services, financial services, all these services came into existence because to meet the needs of secondary sector and primary sector. Am I making sense? So this is the process of evolution of the modern economy. Okay, have you seen the sequence of economic activities? Initially we were in primary activity, later we shifted ourselves to the secondary sector, and later to the tertiary sector. So right now, in general, the economy has three sectors, meaning the present economic activities can be classified into three categories: primary sector, secondary sector, and tertiary sector. Am I making sense? Right. So, as industrial as well as service sector grows, then the population dependent on agriculture normally comes down, and in most of the advanced economies, the population dependent on agriculture are less than 5 to 10%. Yes or no? Because there is a transition from primary to secondary and secondary to tertiary. Then obviously the workforce will be distributed among these three sectors. Yes or no? And you can see this type of scenario in the Western economies, particularly the most advanced economies in European countries and North American countries. However, in India defies this conventional development model. What is that conventional development model? The transition of economy from primary to secondary and secondary to tertiary. Okay, but here irony is India has jumped into tertiary sector from primary sector without looking at the secondary sector. Meaning, we have directly jumped into tertiary sector without developing the secondary sector. Okay, that's why we are importing, or we have been importing manufactured goods from other countries. Okay, and of course the contribution of manufacturing sector or the secondary sector in the GDP is less than 30%. Please note this point. Is less than 30%. Sometimes it may be less than 25%. So that is the fate of India's manufacturing sector. So that's why the present government has been promoting Make in India program in order to make India as a manufacturing hub. And of course, we have already missed the bus. Now it is very difficult because in this era of globalization, it is very difficult to compete with the advanced economies who have already passed that stage. That is my point. Okay, that's why in India, whether you study chemical engineering or mechanical engineering or civil engineering, finally you end up in IT sector. Because in India, there are surplus jobs in IT. There are no surplus jobs in manufacturing sector. Okay, if you are an mechanical engineering graduate or a civil engineering graduate, the only thing is you have to start your own company or your own industry. That is the only way to lead the life. If you need job, you have to go to IT sector. That is the only way, right? Yes. So as I said, most of the shift directly took place from agriculture to services by skipping industrial sector. Okay. And another irony is 50% of our India's workforce is still in agriculture. Okay. And another significant point is the share of agriculture in the GDP is less than 15%. Meaning, if the GDP of India is 100 rupees, let us say the GDP of India is 100 rupees. What is GDP? The value of total production of final goods and services is called as GDP. If the GDP is 100 rupees, the share of agriculture sector in that 100 rupees is 15 rupees, 15, meaning 50% of the India's workforce is getting 15 rupees. That means 15 rupees should be shared by 50%, 50% of the India's working force. That's why India is suffering from poverty. So that's why still there is no good standard of living in India. You know, the agriculture sector is in distress. What is the solution? The solution is this surplus workforce in the agriculture sector should be moved to the remaining sectors. And the unfortunate thing is, most of the people are unskilled due to lack of quality education. Only few people are able to move to the secondary and tertiary sector. So India needs a skilled workforce. The people in agriculture sector should be given skills. Then only they can be moved to the other two sectors. That's why the present government has introduced Skill India. Skill India. Of course, there were several programs prior to the present government which were introduced in order to improve the skills. Okay, right? Yes. So this is the fate of India's economy. This is the fate of India's economy, right? 50% of the workforce is still in agriculture, and the contribution of agriculture to GDP is very less. That means 50% of the workforce is contributing only 15 rupees. Yes? Right. Now we will see the problems faced by our agriculture sector. So why should we study the problems faced by our agriculture sector? Because as 50% of the workforce is in agriculture, it is very important and necessary to study the problems faced by the agriculture sector. Okay, right. So the first thing is small land holdings ranging from 1 acre to 2 acres in most of the cases. So because of small land holdings, the income is very less. First thing, the income is very less. Okay, they cannot meet the present living standards with that income. And the second problem is institutional finance is not available. That is why the small agricultural farmers is at the mercy of money lenders. So due to this money lenders, the farmers are being pushed into debt traps. Okay, indebtedness, right? So however, the situation improved substantially in the recent times because the government has been providing crop loans for the landholders. Please note this point, landholders. Okay. The tenants are facing lack of credit facilities because banks provide loans only for the landholders. They don't provide loan for the tenants. So the government has to look into this aspect. Okay. So the substantial portion of the land is cultivated by the tenant farmers, as I said right now. And the institutional framework to make available loans is not up to the mark. These tenants are not getting proper credit for cultivating the land. Only the landholders are getting the crop loans. Am I making sense? So this is the another problem. So because of this, they are being pushed into the debt trap. Okay, right. Next point, marketing of agriculture products is another problem. You know, middlemen are getting more benefits by selling the agriculture produce. Okay, here the producer and the end user are the losers, and middleman is the person who is getting profit. Okay, so there is no good marketing facilities for the agriculture in India. Okay, and of course recently the government of India has introduced farm laws with respect to agricultural marketing in order to increase the income of the farmers. Yes, right. The next thing is food processing has not taken roots in our country to create value addition. See, in most often we see that farmers throwing their produce on the fields itself. For example, tomatoes, sometimes mangoes, sometimes flowers. Yes or no? In that way, the surplus production is being wasted in India because of lack of food processing units. If there are food processing units, then definitely the farmers would produce food products. That means instead of throwing tomatoes in the field due to lack of marketing facilities or due to lack of a good price, the tomatoes can be converted into tomato pickles or ketchups, other byproducts. Yes or no? That facilities are not there. Of course, there are some facilities, but they are not sufficient to meet the demand of the Indian farmers. You know, here the irony is we import potato chips from foreign countries. Yes or no? Different varieties of snack items from the foreign countries. Okay, if those things are made in India by establishing food processing units, the farmers will get good income, and we can pull the farmers from the debt traps and poverty trap. Okay, yes, the government is working in this aspect. The government has initiated the policy of food parks. Okay, we'll discuss these concepts in our future classes. See, right now we are just discussing the basics. Okay, I'm just trying to make you friendly with economy. Okay, I'm just trying to make you friendly with economy. So I'm just discussing the basics. Okay, in coming classes, we will discuss the concepts in a comprehensive way, right? And the next thing is lack of interest on taking up agriculture on scientific lines. Yes or no? So there is no link with the agricultural institutes and the farmers. Of course, the government has been trying to link the agricultural institutes with farmers, but most of the farmers are not showing interest. Okay, there is a problem on farmer sides as well. For example, soil health cards. The government has introduced a soil health card to reduce the fertilizer consumption, but most of the farmers are not showing interest to check their soils, and they are not using fertilizers in accordance with the recommendations of the agriculture institutes. Am I making sense? Yes. So the farmers also should take responsibility to increase their incomes, to reduce the expenditure. Okay. And the next problem is yield per hectare for most of the crops is not up to the mark when we compare with advanced economies. Yes or no? For example, if you produce 3000 kgs of food grains per hectare, the foreign countries are producing 12,000 food grains per hectare. I have just given you an example. Okay, so that is the meaning of this yield per hectare. Okay, we are unable to achieve good yield per hectare even after the green revolution. Okay, because we are successful only in two aspects. One is rice and wheat. For example, in India, still we import pulses from the other countries. Okay, we don't have sufficient production of pulses to meet the needs of the India, right? Yes. So overall agriculture sector is worst affected after globalization because of less concentration of the government on agriculture. Yes or no? So globalization means what? Simply, globalization means integrating the Indian economy with the world economies. Other way around, allowing the products of the other countries to be sold in the Indian markets. Okay? Because of this, there is a huge competition in the Indian market. And also government has been allocating more funds to the other two sectors of the economy. And this has been the condition since 1991. That is the year in which the policy of liberalization, privatization were introduced. Okay, right. So overall agriculture sector is worst affected after globalization because of less concentration of the government on agriculture. Because of globalization, the food products, particularly the vegetables, fruits, are being imported from the foreign countries. Okay, so because of that, our domestic production is being badly affected. Okay, right. Okay, so in the next video, I will try to discuss the importance and significance of physical capital and human capital. Thank you.